Hello and welcome, friends, to Corporate Esports Association. I like to call it the CEA. We're going to be tuning in for some fine Valorant gameplay today for your casting entertainment, Sir Waltham and Moxie. Moxie, how are we doing?
Pretty good, Waltham. Pretty good. Looking forward to this cast of Valorant today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we do look ahead towards this cast of Valorant today, the two teams we are going to be seeing go head to head is going to be LigerTake versus COE. Moxie, we were kind of talking before we actually started launching this cast, exactly what this might mean for these teams' qualification.
Yeah, both of these guys on the precipice of playoffs, which is going to be starting up next week. That means the best of threes go next week. It's still going to be best of ones, but both of these guys really want to put themselves at the best possibility, sitting at that 2-1 to get there.
Yeah, certainly no doubt. I mean, you're going to want to always put yourself in the best spot as we do look ahead. We are going to be starting off on Vine, so no real no real big shake-ups there. No icebox, as much to you and my chagrin, Moxie, as much as you like playing it and I like seeing it.
Yeah, it's fine. We had a little bit of an earlier discussion before the cast began about what map you're probably gonna be seeing, and like I said earlier to deal with them, you either are in that group where you absolutely hate Bind, or
Hmm.
you're everybody else, as we're gonna be seeing a Sage coming out from the attacking side. COE going with a very strange lineup. Both the Viper and the Sage pretty much not really picked any of these days in normal Valorant. We'll be very interested to see how they use this, because on the attacking side, you want to get in as quickly as possible, but Sage is just very good at slowing things down.
And we'll see exactly how that comes into play here as the gates do look forward to dropping. As we look at the loadouts for these teams, see a couple ghosts on both sides, but really those automatic pistols that are going to be coming through, perhaps dealing a little bit of damage as now the gates start to open up. Maybe a little bit slower, tuning in with RPG spot. I need to just hold on to those showers areas, making sure that they do have that A site locked down.
Float coming through from LigerTake as well, just not really sure where COE are going to be heading. Spike seems to be making its way towards Hooker, but just as quickly starting to taper off towards Long. They
And
still have a pretty amount of time left, Waltham. They can make up their mind, but not a lot of utilities coming out from either of these sides, so the defense is just more than happy to wait for COE to make that move.
And you certainly have to think so in these pistol rounds. Sometimes you see a little bit more of the aggression, knowing that you have to tend to close that distance a little bit. But for right now, it looks like we're just going to be seeing COE just kind of hang around, grouping up for what seems to be an A push here, Mox.
Yeah, they want to go towards it. There will be a split push coming through. That Ray's already in showers, needs to push in at the same time since the rest of the team onto A short. Otherwise, RPG Spot on the Sova is going to have an absolute
30
shooting
seconds
gallery at his
left.
hands.
Really looking forward to seeing perhaps how these abilities come out. We see the majority of the team for the defenders are on B. The contact now making touch. Stevie going to be looking to plant the bomb early. Does get revealed, but doesn't matter as the spike does go down either way. RPG taken down initially. That's a good opening here for COE. And now just managing to hold this bomb site steady. Already we see the defenders trying to push in LigerTake. Holding up high, got two on Heaven. The Phoenix does drop down. Yanthrax trying to just make some sort of maneuverance here, Moxie. The question is, can they find it? Friolito's gonna be finding one onto it. And right now, it's looking all good for the side of the attackers, so they do have that one-man advantage. Oh, but that advantage gets evened out, although the attackers do still come up with it.
I love how COE are using that Viper and the Sage. There's so much area denial, and
Mm-hmm.
the second that they go in, they hit these spots as a team. They keep a hold of all of their utilities, so when that spike goes down, it is just so hard, so awkward for Liger Take on that defense to come back through when the recontest.
It really was looking like a little bit of a struggle there, Mox. But now, as we head into that second round, we floating in with quite a few ghosts, or excuse me, with quite a few of those silenced pistols coming through. Really ready to tear up for this attacking team.
Yeah, no one going for the Force Marshal, which is a shame. I always love to see it, but it is a
Yeah.
very risky move. You have to win that round. Otherwise, that investment really hits you hard on the third series, which is arguably one of the most important in the entire game. COE gonna be moving in with the pistols. A lot of utility already coming through for the Cypher. The camera gonna be clearing up Hooker. They want to hit that B side, and once again, majority of the team surrounding it, but the spike left behind. No one wants to pick it up. No one wants to risk getting caught out and it being count for the rest of the round.
A wise option there, as you're able to just keep a little bit of control should you even still manage to lose one member. But once again, the very slow pushes coming in from COE. They're being very methodical about this. Now looking like they might go and retrieve that bomb as they might end up deciding on which route they want to go, although it does look like it might be a little bit more leaning towards that A.
A is looking a little bit emptier and LigerTake going to be rotating Phoenix over to Heaven to try and make up that difference. It's COE, we know when they hit one of these sites, they hit it with pretty much a full team. Except the Rainer at the moment, who's making a lot of noise on B, trying to keep LigerTake's attention away from the side as Stevie2K sets up the wall.
See exactly how it goes. The Molly going to be closing off Showers. Daddy just not quite able to push in, but that's going to be opening kills for COE as now they start making their way onto the A point. Once again, the Viper causing a lot of space. Omen going to be choking out Showers, making it very dangerous for that push to come through. Right now, it's looking like the attackers having that man advantage once again. These kills still managing to be predominant here. It's going to be Freelitos trying to clear those side corners, being very cautious, but the bomb has been planted. The attackers just now have to hold or at least buy enough time off the clock, Mox.
Here comes the Rainer as well for COE going through Heaven, going to be trying to cut off LigerTake on that high ground. Now you can go in for the pinch, but LigerTake have decided to make their own move.
We do see the moves coming through, but not quite enough as COE does manage to get the kills, and it was looking a little bit better for them, but of course that's kind of the way you expect that second round to go, Mox.
That wraparound from Zero Ruined on the Rainer, all the way through B, all the way through Defender Spawn up to Heaven to make sure that LigerTake just don't have the high ground, that they have to push in aggressively on COE at a place where they're really at a disadvantage. You're going into that Viper's home territory when all of the kit is set up, and remember, Viper has one of those utilities where once you put them down, sure, they're permanent, but you manage your resources well enough and you can keep them going for an absolute eternity.
Certainly seems to be the factor there. Which again, just that massive resource control coming in pretty big. Seeing Anthrax just go ahead and navigate towards that ult orb. Going to be getting himself some early ult charge and an early kill for the attackers. Now going to be leaning in perhaps to that, knowing that the Showers are a little bit clearer than it was before. Looks like the spike will be picked up, although it looks like not quite navigated towards A. It looks like they might be a little bit more B leaning this time, knowing that perhaps the reinforcement goes into A.
Zero Wind's just sniffing in gardens right now, trying to figure out where exactly LigerTake are. It is the Rainer though, so you have to go for the face check, putting yourself in a lot of danger, but if you hit those shots, you do have that ability to become completely intangible or heal yourself up to full. The COE are just readying their forces. They've lost members on A. This is all a big distraction.
Is all the big distraction, but it's a distraction that's so far not coming out numerous for them. We do see the plant going online for the attacking team. Now it will be the repush. Kupo actually getting caught out using those abilities. Eric able to get the shot with the Phantom right down in, and so far it's going to be on to Killjoy, who does go for the defuse and going to be getting it.
Yeah. LigerTake able to just keep that cool, win the fight on A, and then maneuver their way on to B. And it's something that COE are trying to punish, the fact that LigerTake don't have access to that information, that they're running the Killjoy instead of the Cypher, which is what we're seeing a couple of teams at that high end do. You see 100 Thieves, and even Cloud9 opting into that one most usually on Ascent. But for LigerTake, it's not really the utility that's coming into play at the moment because the turret goes down, but no one really gets tagged up on the side of COE. They're much more cautious. They don't really show themselves. They've got the information. They've got the cipher of their runners. We are going to see Fancy picking up that sniper rifle. This is dangerous. It is an attacking operator. You need to set your sightlines up, and it takes a very long time to do that. It's not a matter of walking into Heaven and getting your head completely blasted off of. But it's still something that LigerTake now have to maneuver around.
See exactly how Sniper does come into play here. Kupo once again maybe clearing out that hookah room, just making sure nobody's in there before they take those turns. As now again, it's just gonna be the Rays and the Cypher. They seem to like sending these two off just to make sure B is a little bit more secure, perhaps cause a distraction in a few of the last rounds as well. We do hear that Reyna using the ultimate, ready to push in, perhaps get a bit more aggressive, but destroying a lot of the kit that might be coming through from the Killjoy. As now the going to be rotation onto B, and it looks like the response is coming through from the defenders. We do see them traveling through that defender's spawn, try to really get some numbers on the point.
LigerTake are currently playing with COE's head. They're making them make sure that they can't just move forward. They heard the teleporter come through the Omen behind them, and that's pushing them aggressively right into the trap. As all of LigerTake are just waiting an elbow.
A nice recon arrow coming through from the Sova for the defending team. LigerTake going to be able to capitalize off the back end of that and more. We do see that the defuse likely to be started here, although it's going to be the smokes coming in from the Omen, really obfuscating a lot of views, making things very risky, but the defenders will end up getting it with a little bit of help from the Killjoy.
I really love that LigerTake saw that COE take their time, and they just completely removed that condition. You hear the teleporter, you know that there's suddenly a sense of urgency, you've got to move forward, or you risk losing that spike in the tail end of your composition being collapsed upon by an Omen. And you have to move forward, you have to take a fight you're not ready for, and when you're running that Sage, you have to be able to use time to your advantage, but the utility Cypher, Sage Viper, it takes up a lot of seconds to set that one up. However, now COE have got to be expecting this. They're going to be keeping a very wary eye on those teleporters behind them.
Of course, time, one of those valuable resources that we talk about, and now looks like the valuable resource of friendship going to be coming into effect for COE here as they all start to kind of cluster up towards A, towards B, the Reyna and Cypher together. Rest of the team going to be heading near showers. We do see Daddy just holding that angle for now, making sure that any peaks will go properly punished, and Zero into trying to deal with the Killjoy's tech, but going to be taking it a little bit slow because of that. A couple of shots coming in from the turret, of course, always going to be slowing down the attackers just a little bit as well. A little bit of information over to the defenders. So far right now, the regroup is going to be coming in through that mid zone. And we're going to be seeing the Omen throw out some darkness, making it a little bit more difficult for the push to come through as well. It's going to be the Paranoia Fancy, able to get 2 off the back end of it. However, it does get turned on Kupo, able to claim a couple of kills, or at least 1 kill for their team. And right now, it is looking all good for the side of the defenders. We'll be seeing Friolitos starting to throw down that molly, heal themselves up. And right now, Spike does have possession in the defenders.
I mean, it's not too unexpected an outcome. COE were coming in on the back of a broken buy. They were really waiting for this next round. So the fact that you lose some pistols, it's not too bad. Try and keep a hold of that. I believe it was a Vandal that the Raze is currently holding as Friolitos is trying to search them out. Teleporter goes through. They really want to try and find this Raze. It's a Phantom that just will be keeping a very careful hold of. You can see the paranoia, the fear coming on through. You're not facing an Omen, but you've still got to worry. Where are they going to come from? And breathe a big old sigh of relief because now you're saved up, you've got the economy, you can cash out. COE going to the bank, picking up a nice big old check, coming out with some pretty tasty rifles.
And very fortunate there, the Rays able to keep a bit of cash. I mean, we look at their banks and now 1,700. Not perhaps the most flush, but the defense is going to be looking a little bit more favorable as we see the compositions come out. Even a Guardian onto the field. As now, it's going to be going on to the next round. We do see the lineup going towards that long angle. The jet smoke's going to be coming through, perhaps just to get that ult orb, but be very careful here. Orb does go through, but it's going to be the attackers trying to push through. Zero when taken down, the Reyna not able to find purchase this time. Perhaps should have just stuck towards that hookah, but punishment is punishment either way. As now the attackers trying to recoil, trying to regroup themselves as we see them continuing to push through this long angle. The Rays still going to be holding towards that A, preventing perhaps any rotations through attackers.
There shouldn't be any doubt, though. That is the Venom Wall coming up. LigerTake see the Viper utility. Really, this is going to try and use a curveball. Figure out if the race is still on that A shot. The teleporter has been used. So you have tried to bait LigerTake out because that Viper utility is still on. That B site's still permanently marked up there, but Fancy not falling for it.
See, not quite falling for it, and it's still going to be even 3v3 on point before these rotations come through. But the flawless is the end result here for LigerTake. And so now we see the defenders up 4-2.
AMZN COE do have an awful lot of ultimates available, though, specifically the Vipers. You manage to get onto one of those sites, You drop that right in the middle of Spike, and there is absolutely no way that LigerTake can recontest because they're not running something like the Hunter's Fury right now, right? You still have the Rickham Bolt, yes, you still have the Shock Dart, but it is nowhere near the counter ability that a Hunter's Fury is just arcing right through the Viper world.
Very true. Now, as we look towards our next round, Smoke's going to be coming out from Omen, pushing back the race just a little bit, making them be a little bit more hesitant, as now we see the attacking team a little bit more inclined to scout out B, get a feel for it, suss it out a bit if you prefer. We see once again the Cypher and Reyna both pushing up towards that long angle, towards that teleporter. We're going to be gone, as a matter of fact, but now it looks like A, pretty much abandoned entirely by this attacking team, might just be going full force for the side of COE, and Kubo going to be finding some benefit with that force. Initial kill onto Yanthrax, going to be taking huge advantage here. The Viper Wall, once again, coming up, causing a little bit of that blinding to come through. It's going to be the the Cypher, who does get a little bit of that information. Cyber, we're going to be seeing the Viper Wall come up, or the Viper ult come up, trying to just buy quite a bit of space.
AMZN's done the exact same thing as that previous B push, though, wrapped through teleporter. It's trying to pinch onto the members of CEA who are looking pretty low in health and already cordoned off of this point. Right, trying to bait out that diffuse. Cooper has to show themselves. He's trying to spray down with the Vandal, cut out in dark cover. Able to hit 2. It is 1-on-1, so low. You just don't have it. The utility just not enough, and for your healers wins the fight, wins the round.
A very close diffuse, but Freelito still able to get it. A very close match in that Cypher. Able to get a handful of kills, just not enough.
It's the exact same thing though, right? COE, we talked about it earlier. You've got to be ready for that teleporter wraparound. And they fell for it again! If Fancy hadn't been able to come through, they wouldn't have had to be pinched, they wouldn't have to be zoned out, they could have tried to take the fight that LigerTake weren't ready for. But no, we are going to have Yanthrax on this chat with the operator. Wasn't punished the last time, going for that ult orb on B long. But COE currently not in position to actually go for this peak. They're wisely staying well away from that really long punishing sightline.
Yeah, not quite away from the punishing showers, however, as the Raze does go down. Once again, those attacking teams will be down a little bit in that manpower. Not a great way to start, but consideration has to be made for the Jet on the op here. No real leaning into that long means that op might not find as much as they wanted. Now it's going to be the regrouping of the attacking team. Looks like they're deciding to meet up in that mid, waiting for perhaps those Omen smokes to clear. But Friolito's going to be shooting through the smoke, able to get the kill onto Stevie. All but 2 members left as Friolitos manages to find purchase into another one. So excellent find through that Omen.
Yeah, well, it looks like COE are going to be seeing the amount of players on A and head towards that B side. No, they didn't actually use the resurrection. It will be 2 versus 5. This is a little bit of an against it fight, especially because you're going to be dropping right out of window right into the sightlines of this. Jet buffs the shot, but still has enough pressure to drop the Cypher Cage out.
Yeah, Yanthrax does manage to get the kill, and with that, another flawless coming through for the side of LigerTake. The defenders now having a pretty wide lead going into this next round.
This is the story on all Valorant maps though, right? The second that the defenders start just eking those points away from the attack, they have the economy, they have the sightlines, they can afford the operator, and they can cordon off an entire estate when it comes to space. The operator, you now can't peek heaven, you can't peek B long, you have to go for either hooker or short, or commit your forces, put a scapegoat through showers, and hope that it's enough of a distraction to let yourself get close and try to punish that site.
And of course, that Jet's still going to have that op immediately takes down 0 wind on that long angle. Yanthrax getting some opportunity there as the Sova Owl drone does go out, tries to get a little bit of a recon. But now, again, the attackers going to be hurting here. Doesn't seem like they quite had the coordination to really push into that op as aggressively as they needed to, Mark.
Yeah, and now it is just going to be LigerTake waiting for COE to show themselves. Yeah, it's actually aggressively pushing down long, trying to figure out whether or not they're going to be sticking around that point. But it looks like it will be an A side push. Now the operator has to rotate so far away from the fight. It's going to be completely inconsequential.
And the Viper Wall does come through as well, mitigating a lot of those lines of sights, making it very difficult for the defense to really get a feel for what's going through here. Friolitos going to be hit with the decay and the healing, so a very uncomfortable spot. Kind of in the middle of neutral here. We now see that the defenders continuing to hold down point, not a whole lot of losses going through, but Fancy maybe suffering from the decay, or at least in the midst of decay.
30 seconds
As
left.
now see the defenders kind of shaking it off. The attacker is going to be making a quick rotation through that hookah right onto point, although it's going to be the grenade coming out from Eric does take down the Cypher. Eric going to be turning the corner as well, taking down one more, make it a third, as now it's going to be bombed down on B, a dominant spot for the defenders to be.
Welcome to the pain of running against a Killjoy. Those chickens, those nanoswarms, they are absolutely brutal if you don't know where they are. And even holding on to the lockdown as well means that there's something that COE have to really be quite worried about, and that's whichever site they hit. If they hit it as a full team LigerTake, there is a very real potential that they give up one of these sites, wait to play for the recontest, drop the Killjoy ultimate so that it hits everyone on the side of COE, and then move in to pick up the kills.
Yeah, definitely a very valid opportunity coming through there as we head into our 10th round. Now we are seeing no op. Oh, excuse me. We are going to be seeing Anthrax still with the op coming through. So the defenders still going to be trying to maintain those long sight lines. We'll see if the Anthrax can deliver.
Oh, zero win. No, not a second time.
You gotta
Walk
hope.
into an op shot once. That's on you.
Oh, wait. The Cypher, maybe. Anthrax still holding this corner very firm. It's got me biting my nails here, Mox, as the Anthrax gets caught out, has to back just a little bit. Maybe Kupo using that kit to some good degree there, zero in. Once again, going through hookah, uses that leer, tries to create a little bit of blind, a little bit of space as possible. Although it's going to be Anthrax with that op still holding down, but it's taken down. The op no longer on the field, and that's going to be a movement towards B, at least from the Reyna. But Eric, once again, waiting with that Killjoy to get the catch. Does find it. Kupo, however, able to spot out where that Killjoy is now. Does get the kill on to that player. Now it looks like it's going to be the focus on to B. And they're only going to be coming up. Fancy does get caught out as well. Seeing the cages come through, really mitigating the abilities that, or the fire rate, the efficiency that can come through from the defender spawn.
Easy Juice is actually going to res zero wind as well, so it's going to be 5 versus 3. And COE have so much control. They're already going to be trying to lurk and guard, and so the second that Fancy comes out of this hallway, it is going to be an absolute shooting gallery. Freehooks has been able to wrap around, does have the Blaze Wall to try and disguise the diffuse going through, wants to try and bait someone out from COE into taking these pot shots and force a frontline fight.
A little bit of a fake out going there. Does get the half, but does get taken down. Numbers not looking great for the defenders. Attackers have an opportunity here, but it's going to be RPG throwing in the Hunter's Fury, really trying to get some distance, making it difficult for the attackers to get nestled in as much as they would like. It's just the one Sova against a team of 4. RPG does get one, not able to get the rest, though. Attackers are going to put their third point on the board.
It was a nice idea. Use Hunter's Fury to try and buy the time, get the distraction, force LigerTake to rather COE to try and run away instead of shooting the person diffusing. But unfortunately, the diffuser falls just as the Hunter's Fury comes out. It takes a little bit of a wind up for that animation, and you lost that tiny little window. You lost that round. COE can just fire into the dark cover and absolutely shred your health barriers. We're going to see Eric setting up these horrible Killjoy utilities. I really want to meet the developer who decided that, 1, they had to do so much damage, and 2, nanoswarms had to be invisible.
The tough spot there for anybody who has to play against a proficient Killjoy. We see Zero Wind, however, going in through hookah, going to be the one who deals primarily with the Killjoy, as we've seen so far be the story, and now the Rays. Also trying to back their team up. It looks like B is going to be the primary method of attack once again, coming through from COE, but Riolito is going to be taking down Zero Wind. That Rain and not able to use those blinds. More difficult now for the attacking team to push in here, aside from the fact that they're now just going to be down members, and that Killjoy still the threat here. Mox wasn't even used last round.
LigerTake still not actually committing to this B defense either. They're seeing COE, but they're also not seeing any movement on the A side. And with how COE have been trying to play around and bait this defense onto the certain sides, it's a very wise move. Because now we are seeing that Spike, it's the big old goose chase, heading over to the other side, and LigerTake are going to be rewarded for not repositioning, for still keeping a grasp of this site, both sight lines on showers
30
and
seconds
on
left.
shoulders. We're actually seeing Fancy on that Omen wrap around, try to take up heaven. It will be with a Vandal, so not the amount of pressure that an operator or a marshal holds, but it's still an awful lot of control.
Yeah, definitely not something that the attacking team COE is going to be extremely comfortable with, but they do throw up the walls of the cages, creating a lot of obfuscation there as Kupo gets the opportunity to plant, but a nice recon arrow does come in, allowing RPG Spot to get the kills that they might require here. A couple shock darts going in as well, shock arrows if you prefer. The defenders are going to be coming in with a very quick timer expiration.
And that is why Bind is just known for one of those where sometimes you just give up point entirely and play for the recontest. Because COE, they rush onto the point, they know that there's a presence in heaven, they have to try and get that spike planted and drop as much smokes as they possibly can on top of it. No one finds lamps. No one tries to clear vents, no one tries to clear heaven, and all LigerTake have to do is wait for those smokes to dissipate and then move in from 3 different angles, whereas COE, they've only got control of one.
Now, as we look in, we are going towards that round 12, if my math is correct here at Mox. We look ahead, and it looks like the inclination is for that initial A, but again, the option to pivot often coming through here from COE. We'll see if they can make it count. However, Recon going to be revealing the location of that race, has to back out towards those showers. Might as well take up the ultimate orb. They might as well think to themselves, and still the discipline coming through from the side of LigerTake. They're not shifting too many of their members just yet. We do see perhaps a few rotations coming in for Alito's going to be throwing in the curveball, trying to get the blinds to come through. Doesn't really find too much capitalization off the back end of it, though. See the Reyna going in with Empress form. Gonna be trying to get some sort of value of the Leer. Gonna be thrown in over the Omen smoke. It's looking like the Viper walls, the capabilities that are coming through the smokes that are able to be blocked off. Definitely gonna be buying a little bit of space here for the attackers, but defense not too dissuaded by that just yet, Mox.
Sagewell is up, so too is Viper's Pit, but Yamfrax going in with the blade completely deleted in a couple of seconds. Eric going to be dropping the lockdown. A lot of utility coming out from the side of the defense. You want to try and win this time, but no one's dealing with 0 wins. Reyna is such a snowball of an agent. You get 1 kill, you get to become intangible, heal yourself up, and then you move on to the other one.
Now we will be heading into our second pistol round here, Mox, and so far a very good lead for the side of LigerTake so far.
Yeah, but remember, that was when they were on the defense, and really if you get 4 points on your attack, you're quite happy with yourself. COE with this composition, running this Sage, running this Viper, it's very good for holding space down. Better yet, it's very good for delaying pushes. As long as Easy Juice Money is able to hold on to the Sage wall for a little bit further into the round rather than just burning it immediately on a shot, as we see a lot of Sages do, then it's going to have a lot of value in that recontest, especially in splitting LigerTake off so that COE can just collapse on them from different angles.
We do see Kupo on that Cypher immediately pushing up a 0 and gets taken down by Yanthrax early on. That's probably going to be a good go signal here for B, or at least give them a little bit of space to push up through long without too much threat. Those pistols not able to do a whole lot of damage at that range, given just the drop off and the spread coming through, or the accuracy coming through. And now as we look up here, it's going to be LigerTake really trying to push through. They just cut through that wall. Not too bothered by the Viper, as now they know that the defense is going to be coming through that defender's spawn. Stevie trying to buy a little bit of space with the poisons, but not quite finding it as much as they might like. Riolitos, again, cutting off the sight lines from this defender spawn. A nice curveball coming in. Easy going to be taken down by Yanthrax, putting a nice 3 on their scoreboard and giving the attackers another win.
LigerTake holding on to a lot of utility when the push actually comes through as well. The curveball is really what allows, rather keeps COE back. They can't come back through the hallway because they're just going to get flashed right out by that Phoenix. And this is something that LigerTake have to be able to do. Get information without really having an informational heavy composition. You're not running the Cypher. You've only got the Sova to try and keep a hold of these spaces. It's extremely difficult to be able to get and drop that information. We're even seeing some very early turrets coming out from LigerTake to try and make sure that they can tag someone up, as Cooper going for a very early sniff around Hooker, does hear the movement, decides to get out of dodge. Wise decision As
Ooh.
perhaps not the flash that the Phoenix was looking for.
Friolitos perhaps being a little bit too to the wind there as the flash does land onto their team. The location going to be revealing the majority of B site though through the recon arrow by the Sova. We'll see if the opportunity comes for LigerTake to really push up and get in. It looks like the rotation is actually going to be coming into A, as now most of the team of COE has been pushed towards that B. So the A pretty open and clear. We do see that Viper holding steady, however. Going to be Stevie taken down, not able to hold in that elbow area. And this now Zero Wind climbing on top of that Evans area, trying to just poke some shots with that rifle into the showers. Not quite able to find him. However, the bomb does get planted. We see now that the side of the attackers do have the opportunity here. It's going to be easy trying to go for the defuse. Kupo on the wraparound, able to get some shots. Fancy holding down teleporter entry. And showers now going to be a rough spot for the side of the attackers to hold, but they will manage.
Oh, stage wall got broken. It tried to separate LigerTake into showers to stop them from contesting that defuse, but it just gets absolutely obliterated. Zero Wind had also gone for the Marshal to try and take up that heaven control and be enough of a threat to allow Kupo free passage into lamps to swing around and take LigerTake by surprise, but the Reyna lasts all of a couple of seconds after dropping down from heaven as a distraction. Still going to be opting for that sniper, still going to be trying to hold down one of these angles, already going to be maneuvering towards B long, and that's a risk for LigerTake. You can already see these members, Yantrax, poised, about to walk into this. They know there's a possibility. They're being so very careful. They want to try and bait it out with something like a shoulder peek.
But Zero Wind not quite able to land the shot. Going to be throwing into that Lear, causing a little bit of a blind. But once again, a body on to the Killjoy. The knives trying to come through Yantrax. Not quite able to land it because of that. Zero Wind going to have a breath of life, and followed by another breath of life. Perhaps the intangible form coming through from Eric as that orb does drop. And now it's 3v3 here. But that Sage healing does have the opportunity to perhaps change the tides of these health pools, but not quite, as now it's just going to be easy. Trying to back out through that defender spawn. Things are looking good for Liger. They do have the opportunity to just get this plant. It looks like they are going to be shuffling that bomb towards the A site. Not too much of a concern for that Sage to push up, although they do have to be aware the teleporter does get taken.
Can we just appreciate the fact that LigerTake are able to get the spike back after it's being guarded by a Marshal? Fancy's gonna be holding up in heavy. Easy Juice Money is just about to walk right in. Knows that the omens there, it will be a shootout. Fancy being very low, 33 HP, still able to win the duel. Paranoia catches the Sage out, and there you go. Not going to be upgrading the weapon, still going to be sticking around with that knife. 11-4. We say in Valorant that change off, the fact where you just can't return when it comes to that point differential, it's 5, and that is now a 7 difference. We're already seeing that the defense is coming in on a broken buy. They know that if LigerTake are able to win this round, if they go to that match point, this defense cannot afford to be on a budget push.
It's a definite rough spot here for the now defending COE, as they have to try to make every point, every dollar matter. We're not going to be seeing the Marshal come out again because of that economy consideration coming through, but it's going to be a heavy A defense coming in. 3 members all holding right around that area. Zero Wind trying to hold the precipice into long, although going to have to be dealing with 3 members as they do decide to perhaps low take this peak. See if the blinds do come through. The abilities coming out. It's going to be the Owl Drone coming on line 0 and able to take down Yanthrax, but the rest of the team just quickly makes that turn. Eric able to get the kill with the Vandals coming through. Riolito's going to be throwing in the flash, the curveball rather, but Kupo has the shorty able to just barrel stuff Riolitos and get the capitalization there. Things looking pretty even for both these teams so far. We do see the positioning coming through here. Long does hold the bomb for now, taking the teleporter, perhaps doing a quick wrap to A, knowing that the defenders have to be making quite a bit of a shuffle to get there themselves.
LigerTake holding on to Huddersfield and Lockdown as well. So if they really want to get this spike planted, they can use those 2 ultimates to try and stop COE from going for that heaven control. Recombo gonna be revealing the location, and that is enough for RPG Spot to chuck in the Hunter's Fury. Just trying to make sure that this defuse doesn't come through.
It's going to be a very tough spot for COE to try to push into this diffuse, as we see this the hold being through into showers. Fancy there getting cut off by the Sage Wall once again, but the Sage Wall not long for this world, just getting torn apart, Mox.
Oh, they didn't go for the defuse when the Sage Wall went up either. And all of this, the longer that this goes on for, it's less and less
Ooh.
likely that COE are going to successfully get the defuse, even if they win the fight.
Yeah, and of course they won't be now that we have the power of hindsight, but overall, a rough spot there needed to be perhaps just a little bit more decisive.
Yeah, but remember, they were going in on a broken buy. Now
Very
they're going
true.
to be coming for will be the rifles, will be the heavy armor. Even though their economy is looking absolutely kicked in the dirt for it, they need to win these rounds because it doesn't matter. If you lose, you're not thinking about that next round. You've lost this series. I could take holding on to that from the shadows from that lockdown. I would love to see Fancy just use that one as soon as the round begins to teleport into defender spawn and play absolute chaos with COE's paranoias and fears of where that omen could pop up for, but they're going to be a lot more passive with it.
We'll see exactly if Fancy does opt into that method here. The smokes are going to be coming out from the Viper, obfuscating that in a little bit of a one-way. Potentially coming through there, but not going to be netting too much for either side. Recon's trying to land as well for the attacking team, who do suffer that loss in the Killjoy. So no lockdowns going to be in effect for this round. Rowan trying to shoot through, doesn't seem to be able to find the shots connecting. Meanwhile, it's looking like the defenders gonna be taking a few more kills into their board. Empress Form gonna be coming out from the Reyna, trying to allow themselves that opportunity, try to allow that Reyna the extra force that can be needed for this defense to hold.
There is a rotation going through as well from Hall. COE see that LigerTake aren't properly pushing on the A. They've left the Sage and the Cypher there. But the rest of them will be maneuvering their way up into Heaven. Viper's gonna be headed into Lamb, so LigerTake, if they don't check that one, they will be paying for it dearly when the spike tries to go down.
We see that Viper carefully playing with those angles, perhaps just waiting for the moment they can get the capitalization, but it's going to be Stevie dropping it to Yanthrax instead. It is a 1-for-1 there, as it's going to be the Rays taking down Friolitos. DG spot trying to push ahead with that Sova. Going to be all on to the Sova to try to get some sort of value here, but Zero Win with that Empress going in with the shorty, gets the shot. Zero Win getting their third kills, and now the defenders are starting to swing back just a little bit, Mox.
Oh, that is huge, the fact that Zero Wind is able to come back in with that one. Because you actually, I think you hear the beginning, what, 0.5 seconds of that Ray Showstopper ultimate. It was colored in. It is not colored in now.
Oh.
Daddy just tried to just jump out, use the Showstopper to really punish LigerTake for trying to keep that spike guarded. Goes down before it can be popped, but Zero Wind is there with the clutch, and it was a clutch that this defense needed. LigerTake still holding on to 3 ultimates, so from the shadows still very much in play.
As we see now, it's going to be LigerTake leaning up towards that showers. It's going to be the Rays going in, just trying to do a little bit of reconnaissance work, perhaps. Going to be the Bomb Buddy going out, locking down whoever might be, slowing that push just a bit, but that does give the opportunity for LigerTake to regroup here, get all collected, and perhaps go in and get organized if you prefer. As now, just a very slow push coming through these teams. Again, that Killjoy, having that lockdown always a constant threat, can buy quite a bit of space, so they may be waiting to group up based off of that. We're going to have to deal with the lion's share of the team members here from the side of COE. As the wall goes up, it's going to be Friolitos, who does take one shot. It's going to be the wall bang onto Easy, as we now see the Phoenix run it back. It's going to be Stevie, who does return fire just a little bit. It's now a 4v4. The Viper does get taken a bit down. The Anthrax going to be closing in with a few more of the knives. This is looking great for LigerTake, as now Daddy just, however, managing to swing things back, does get the 2 kill. Going to be on to the Cypher, who's caught reloading, and because of that, the attackers, LigerTake, going to be taking it here.
Oh, that's the absolute worst time necessary to reload. COE,
Yeah.
you could see their plan. They sent Zero Wind through the teleporter, trying to collapse in through showers, go for the pinch, set up the rest of the defense to move forward as the Reyna pushes LigerTake right into the middle of them. A very similar sort of eat your own medicine to how LigerTake dealt with their own defenses, pushing Fancy on that Omen for the teleporter into the hooker. But Fancy hears the teleporter queue, swings around, sees the Reyna, picks up the shot, and all COE's plans suddenly just hinge on that instinct. And he just tries to come in clutch, manages to get up a couple, but you're just too outnumbered.
Now, Mox, how we talked about it, like, right at the start of things. The Sage and the Viper kind of a non-conventional choice, as we see a lot of that restriction coming through, but it did allow a lot of space creation potentially to come through for the side of COE. It didn't quite find the purchase that it needed to. What do you think its total payoff was? Do you think this is something that might still be, reasonably actionable?
I mean, it was definitely actionable. In fact, I would say it probably served COE a lot better than some teams that I have seen trying to force Viper and trying to still force Sage, because they actually kept a hold of their utility to the point where it was necessary. We saw when Spike was down, Wall would come up to try and make sure that either the defuse went through or the Spike plant went through, and even the toxic screen as well coming out from the Viper would come out, not at the beginning of the round, not as a bait play, but in the position that Suri wanted to push so that they could use it to obscure sight, that they could use it to split LigerTake when that recontest went through. Unfortunately, what was lacking the utility was that the decision making was ever so slightly off. You put the Sage wall up and you have to be immediate with your reaction because now that wall is just going to get obliterated within seconds. And there were a couple of times where the wall went up, but the indecision stayed.
Yeah, not quite the split-second decision making that is sometimes so required in Valorant. Definitely looking forward to seeing if that sharpens up here in the future. However, as we look ahead, Mox, we do have a little bit of an interview that will be coming on the other end of this break. I understand that it will be fancy, so folks, stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. Hello and welcome back, everybody. Just as I promised, we have a special gift for you. A little bit of an interview with none other than Fancy. So, Fancy, hello, welcome,
Hello,
congratulations.
hello. Thank you, thank you.
Now, of course, we have a few questions for you. You know how this goes by now. But one of the questions I'm curious about is, we saw that Sage wall from the opposing team. We saw the Vipers come. We saw the Sage rather from the opposing team. We saw the Vipers. What was your team's thought process in dealing with that?
So, my thought always with the Sage is let's try to bait out the wall, break it as soon as possible. There were a few instances where I was surprised at how little the wall was coming out. I mean, I would normally expect it on Bind to be a mid, but the Viper had the one way there consistently. And it just looked like Sage was playing lamps. So honestly, we just tried to get her to rotate as quickly as possible to the opposite site that we were going. So she couldn't really use her wall for anything. And that ended up working with me baiting out on A, them going B, and then I would just smoke CT and she couldn't do anything.
Hmm.
Okay, so one strategy that we saw coming out from your defense multiple times was that you wrapped from point A to hookah through the teleporter. Is this something that you consistently do on Omen in Bind?
Uh, Consistently, yes. Is it effective? No, but in this case, they weren't watching for it, which I thought was also very interesting. By the time I would get out of hookah, uh, I mean, usually the Sova would have already spotted them, and I was confident that no one would be in hookah. There was that one time though that the Raze was watching me, and I started spraying like a madman and somehow got her. Um, but I try not to do it because it doesn't usually work, but here it worked.
So what was the thought process then on doing it for the B side, but not using the A teleporter at all?
Not using it on the B side. I think we were just trying to scare them. At some point, we were like, we've definitely like rattled their we've definitely rattled their offense. We might as well, or their defense. So we might as well just like just randomly go around. Just a little tour de bind. Um, I at the beginning of the match, I definitely told the team not to be afraid to use the teleporter, just because one, we have the ability to run around, and B, just confuses them. I think the teleporters are really underused. So uh, just wanted to try something new.
Oh, it definitely worked. It was definitely unexpected and had an awful lot of success. Looking to the future, then obviously playoffs start off next week, and I know I asked you last week, Eli, how are you preparing for the best of threes? And you hadn't been. Has this changed?
Uh, I mean, I don't really know how to prepare for best of threes besides just playing. I'm super thrilled to have my Saturdays taken up with a lot of Valorant. So that's always fun. But I mean, I'm just gonna tell the team as usual. We got to make sure we know all the maps. I'm making sure we try to play Icebox as much as possible, and everyone's super thrilled about that. Um, but I mean, the only thing that a best of three really signals is that we're gonna play for longer. There's gonna be Sky and there's gonna be Icebox. So I'm just making sure we all know what to do about those two new things.
And so, have you started sort of gearing practices towards Icebox and dealing with Sky, or do you guys have a specific Sky agent now?
Like 90% of the time we get we get Icebox in competitive. Someone on the other team just boots. Uh, And then there was this one time we actually had to surrender just because we were doing so poorly on Icebox. But we have two players who are trying to pick up Sky. Her flashes are really tricky. Um, I think we know Icebox pretty well by now. Actually, most of us compare it to Cash on Counter Strike. Well, at least I do. Um, but I think we're fairly confident with a CT hold at least, and then we're just getting better and better on T attack. So slowly but surely we're going to get there.
Well, you'll definitely get that, I am sure. Thank you so much for coming, giving up a little bit more of your weekend time for a little bit more of Valorant before you
My
jet off.
pleasure.
Is there anyone that you want to say thanks to?
As usual, Taco Bell, thank you for being the fuel of my life. We're always looking for sponsors. I'd love your shirts. And to my team, you nailed it. Uh, Other than that, no, thanks, Moxie. Thanks, Waltham. You guys rock.
Well, thank you very much, Fancy. Once again, congratulations. But Mox, that is gonna be about it. Overall, some good Valorant we saw today, albeit a little bit of a shorter game than perhaps I might have liked.
But remember, next week it's the playoffs. We don't have any like confetti to pop
Aw.
or streamers. I wish, or maybe even a
That's a shame.
cake to get shipped to us so we can blow the candles out of Waltham. I would 100% be on board with that. I don't know who we would have to talk to make that happen, but just putting it out there. But
Yeah.
it is the playoffs, which means the best of threes, the potential of Icebox and Sky. It's all coming together. And, new things, they scare a lot of Valorant players, but I've also talked to a lot of people who want Sky, who want Icebox, and that means it might not be vetoed immediately.
Oh, well, definitely some things to be looking forward to as you do go into those playoffs. But, folks, you're only going to find out if you tune in then, so be sure you catch it whenever available. I know I will be tuning in, but for that is going to be our broadcast day for Valorant, for GotMoxi and myself. We want to thank you guys for tuning into Corporate Esports Association, watching some good old Valorant play. And until next time, folks, we hope to see you around. Stay safe out there, everybody.